الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله قاصم الجبارين مبير الظالمين مدرك الحاربين، والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأطهرين، سيما أولهم أمير المؤمنين وآخرهم بقية الله في الأراضين. روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء، ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم العنين. أما بعد، قال المعصوم عليه السلام: كونوا أحرارا في دنياكم. For the happiness of Hazrat Azadari Marziya, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumin, of the graves of the shuhada, ulama and siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahl al-Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Arwahun al-Fida, please recite the loudest of your salawat. All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who's Rahman and the one who's Rahim, the one that has given us opportunity to once again sit in the remembrance of Abu Abdullah and to partake in the majlis of Abi Abdullah, a majlis where one learns the lessons of Reformation, or where one should learn the lessons of Reformation. And a question I've been asking everywhere, and a question that I asked you last year as well, was that what is it that we have gained from Karbala? What is it that we have gained from the event of Ashura? Because Sayyid al-Shuhada went out, he himself in his letter to his brother Muhammad al-Hanafiya says, وَإِنَّمَا خَرَجْتَ لَطَلِبِ الْإِصْلَاحِ فِي أُمِّةِ جَدِّي. I've come out in order to seek reform in the ummah of my grandfather. I've come out in order to do Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar, to enjoin the good, to forbid the evil. وَأَسِيرُ بِسِيرَةِ جَدِّي وَأَبِي Ali ibn Abi Talib, and to walk upon the path of my grandfather and my father Ali. The whole purpose of Sayyid al-Shuhada was to seek reform, was to change society, was to uplift society, was to take society from its degradation towards becoming human again. But what is it that I have gained from it? Year in and year out of my life, I sit and I mourn for Sayyid al-Shuhada. And I weep over him and I think over the event of Karbala. But still, when I look at my life, I still possess hasad. I still am jealous. I still have pride. I still backbite. I still do all of that haram that Sayyid al-Shuhada stood against. I still worry about the dunya. I still stay awake worrying about tomorrow, whereas Allah Himself has said, عَجِبْتُ مِنْ ثَلَاثَةِ الْعَبِيدِ. I'm shocked at three groups of my servants. One of those groups, Abdun, that slave of mine, who knows that I have provided his rizq for him or her, and have provided their rizq for them until this point. I've never let them starve. I've always kept a shelter over their heads. I've always kept clothes upon their back. I've always kept the family around. These are all different types of rizq. He says he knows that I have provided the rizq for him thus far, but yet he still stays awake worrying about tomorrow. He says, عَجِبْتُ مِنْ ثَلَاثَةِ الْعَبِيدِ. I'm shocked. Allah, when Allah is shocked, is not because something is out of the ordinary, out of the knowledge of Allah, but rather this is so plain for this servant of mine to see. But yet why is he still bound to this dunya, to these worries? Why can't he let go? Why can't she be free? When everyone had been given in Karbala, everyone had been slain, and Sayyid al-Shuhada fell to the earth of Karbala, unable to move, unable to do anything, the strength sapped from his body. The army of Amr ibn Sa'd turned themselves towards the khayyam of the women of Ahl al-Bayt. At this point, Sayyid al-Shuhada, resting upon a spear, lifts himself up from the ground. Imagine this scene. A man that has given everything, no strength in his body, the blood loss, but yet he takes a broken spear. He sits himself up and he addresses the army of Amr ibn Sa'd. He says, if you have no deen, وَلَا تَخَافُونَ الْمَعَادِ, and you don't fear the day of judgment, كُونُوا أَحْرَارًا فِي دُنْيَاكُمْ, at least be free men in this world. What is Sayyid al-Shuhada saying? They're going to attack the tents. He's saying, if you don't have a religion, you don't believe in God, you don't believe in the day of judgment, says at the very least be free in this world. Because what you are about to do and what you have committed thus far, free men do not do that. Freedom. And in the coming nights we'll analyze this statement of Sayyid al-Shuhada. What does it mean to be free? What does it mean to be hur in the dunya? This concept of hurriya, because everywhere you look, freedom, everyone desires freedom. You put the word into Google and everyone's coming forward and everyone wants to set you free. But yet freedom itself is defined as the ability to do what you want, when you want, without restriction. That's the true interpretation of freedom. But in reality, when one looks at the freest nations on earth, or any, we don't have total freedom in its truest sense. Even in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Yeah, okay. You don't have total freedom. There are certain criterion within which your freedom exists. The first is like, for example, your physical laws. There's the law of physics, law of gravity. I want to be able to fly, but I can't, because gravity is holding me down. It's not total freedom in its truest sense. I want to be able to fly, but I can't. Gravity pulls me back towards the earth. When I look at the medical field, as if someone suffers from diabetes, I say, well, I really want to eat sugar. I say, well, you can't. It's going to end up leading to your demise. But I'm free. Let me eat. On your head be it. The third level, at the third point, you have individuals that have sort of social freedom. I can say what I want, freedom of speech. Can I say what I want? Yes, by and large I can. However, there are certain social settings where I can't say certain things. For example, in a hall like this, to shout out fire, it's probably not the best idea. Or if I find myself in the New York subway or on a packed out plane, to shout Allahu Akbar would probably not be a good idea. There is freedom. In fact, Imam al-Sadiq salawatullah wa salamuhu alayh, he says there are 5 things. If not in the life of a person, there is no way that he will be able to fulfill or live a fulfilling life. The first, he says, al-wafa, The first thing that a person needs to live a wholesome life is that the person is loyal, is true to their promises. They live by that code and they are true and they are loyal. The second, al-haya. The second thing that Imam Sadiq says that is the requirement for a wholesome life is a person that has chastity, a person that has shame. The third thing that the Imam says, husnul khulq, good manners. Person knows how to speak to people. Person knows how to interact with people. Those good actions. The fourth thing, at-tadbir, organization. Person's organized in their life. It's not that one day they wake up at this time and the other day they wake up. No, there is organization. If they say that we're going to get to the Husayniyah for 8:15, they're there. Not like, well, you know, how it is in our communities, right? So it's 8:30 start time and everyone's like, well, if I leave the house at 8:30, should be able to reach 5 minutes. And then I'm like, how did I miss half the lecture? Because she didn't leave in time. At-tadbir, the Imam says, the person that has a nazm, the person that has an order, an organization within his life, says he'll live a wholesome life. And then the Imam says, and the fifth thing, which encompasses all of the previous four, hurriya, says freedom. Says the person that has freedom, it encompasses all the four prior, but when he has this sense of freedom, he can live a wholesome life. You see people who are bound by difficulties in their life. They can't be free. They can never have a free mind. They're always worried. They're always bound to this world. They're always troubled about something. But as I said, that freedom in itself can never be true. True freedom can never exist. Why? Because it would lead to anarchy within society. And similarly within Islam, there is freedom, but there is criterion within which that freedom must exist. Right now, in the current state that we find ourselves as Muslims in, as second generation Muslims or Muslims that are growing up in the West or Muslims that have come over and assimilated to Western or non-Muslim ideals, you find this idea always put forward that Islam is too backwards. Islam doesn't allow me to, Islam isn't developing, it's backwards, it's not progressive. The thing that I do is all cultural. And many unfortunate incidences I've seen with my own eyes, having traveled the US and other places. Now whole communities where the youth do not exist. I was joking with them, I was saying this is a departure lounge. Just adults, elderly people on chairs, there's no youth. Where are all the youth? Well, after some investigation, 90% had become atheists. And this isn't an uncommon thing. This is out west. That the youth had become, and when you question it, it's mostly, oh, my issue lies with culture and a misunderstanding of Islam. So before we actually go into what are the characteristics, because in the coming nights we will look at the specific characteristics, what the hadith of Ahlul Bayt say, that these are the characteristics that a person that is truly free must possess. But today I just want to look first and foremost at four overarching themes and see exactly what it is Islam says about those. The first being aqeedah, belief. Freedom of belief, freedom of aqeedah. Whenever it comes to this discussion around freedom, or it comes around Aqidah, one of the first ayat that people always bring up is La ikraha fi din. There is no compulsion in the religion. And that is true within the belief system. Within the aqa'id, there is no taqleed. You cannot follow anyone. No one can tell you God exists and then you believe. Rather, you must go and research and understand that Allah exists. You must go and understand as to why it is adalat has been selected from all of the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. From amongst those 1,000 sifat that are mentioned in Jawsh and Kabir, why is it within the aqa'id only adala is selected? That comes upon every individual to go and understand. Why is it Nabuwa is so essential towards the progression of the faith? It's upon me. Imama. Why is imama needed when Nabuwa is there? And then why is it that we have qiyamah at all? All of these belief systems, these usul al-din, these aqaidi issues, within them there is no taqleed. You must reach a conclusion yourself. You must ponder over it. You must think over it and reach that conclusion. And then when we're trying to convince people, we're trying to tell people, we have to do it with a level of akhlaq. La ikraha fi din. Like living in a non-Muslim country, the aim is not, oh, we convert everyone and bring them and Sharia law and all sorts of things. Actually, having said that, you know, I was Fox News and that, there are no no-go zones, you know, in England. There are no Sharia zones in England, as Fox News would have you believe. So the implementation or the understanding of the aqa'id cannot be forced. You see Nabi Ibrahim in the Holy Quran, he says to his people, okay, I'll begin to worship the sun. And then the sun goes down and he says, well, I can't worship something that disappears at night. He says, let me worship the moon then. And then the day comes and the moon disappears and he says, I cannot worship something that disappears during the day. He says, let me worship the stars. He says, but I can't worship anything again that disappears during the day. Look at the way that Nabi Ibrahim is explaining to his people. The narration is كَلِّمُ النَّاسِ بِقَدْرِ أُقُولِهِمْ. Like there's no force. This is a prophet of God that has the ikhtiyar, he has the ability, he has the ways to convince them. But yet, look at his approach. Nabi Yusuf is in the prison. Nabi Yusuf is in the prison. And the two individuals come to him and they say, interpret our dream for us. And Nabi Yusuf interprets their dream and then he says to them one line. And that's all he says to them. After interpreting the dream, doing something good for them, he says to them, is it better that one worships a God made by his own hand? Or worships the one God that is wahid and qahar? And that's all he says, he leaves it. At that point, there is in Islam, there is the freedom of belief, there is the freedom of aqidah. Once someone enters the religion, then that freedom is there, but there is restrictions now. There was freedom before, you didn't have to enter into the religion. Even one of the common misconceptions that people have is in regards to Imam al-Hajjah, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-Sharif. Where people say that when the Imam comes, he will establish his government and he will force everyone to become Shia. Not even Muslim, he will force everyone to become Shia. This is incorrect. Imam alayhi salam will follow the true sunnah of the Prophet, establish almost like a Madanite society within which Jews, Christians, Sunni, Shia, everyone will live under an overarching umbrella of the hukuma of the Imam. Not that people will be forced to convert. No, rather that society will exist under the umbrella of the rulership of the Imam. There is no forcing in religion. But yes, when you enter and you have said La ilaha illallah and you have given shahadat of the risalat of Rasulullah and you've accepted the wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, now when you've entered, now the Quran doesn't say La ikraha fi din. It says fadkhuli fi silmi kafa. Says now that you've entered into submission, make sure you've entered into it wholly, that there isn't anything that distracts you from Allah. There isn't anything that makes you say, no, I don't like this part. Says don't pick and choose it. Says when you've come into the religion, come into it wholly. But while you're still outside, then even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses the Holy Prophet. He says, Lasta alayhim bimusaytir. Says, you're not one to force them. You can't compel them. You may be rahmatan lil alameen. You may be the seal of the Prophet. But no, O Muhammad, you cannot force them to come towards this deen. Lasta alayhim bimusaytir. They have freedom to observe their religion. They have freedom to their own beliefs. Yes, inside, we've become so intolerant to different ideas. Something doesn't sit well with my worldview. And instead of actually wanting to learn or to discuss, I want to shoot people down. This isn't hurriya. This isn't freedom. Freedom to what? Freedom to cuss someone out behind their back, that isn't freedom. You disagree with something that someone has said, go and speak to them. There's no restriction on it. Ask, discuss. We've become so intolerant of views that if someone comes and speaks about, oh, Islam says this, we're like, whoa! This is so backwards. No, Baba, why don't you try and go and understand? And then on the other side, there's, here we're speaking about Islam and someone comes with an alternative view and says, well, what about this? And we're like, whoa, kafir, liberal kafirs. No, we have to be more engaging, more respectful of each other. Salam. We have to be more respectful of each other, willing to hear each other's views, not being so quick to destroy and to remove or to dismiss people from it. When we discuss, even when it comes to the kuffar, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to the Holy Prophet, "Ud'u ila sabil rabbik bil hikmah wa maw'idhatil hasana wa jadilhum billati hiya ahsan." Says, and call to the way of your Lord using hikmah, using wisdom and good words. And if they argue with you, argue with them in the best of ways. Have the best of akhlaq. But this is for the kuffar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying this for the kuffar, those that do not accept the religion. And you want to call them towards your religion, says go with hikmah, go with nice words. If they argue with you, argue with them with the best of akhlaq. But our own mu'mineen, I disagree with another mu'min, and I've got no patience for what they have to say. Instantly I want to brand them a kafir. Instantly I want to brand them as something. He says, no, if you're going to call people towards you, if you want people to listen to you, then be calm. Be calm. وَسُكُونِ الرِّيحِ. Imam al-Sajjad in Du'a Makarim al-Akhlaq, when he speaks about the characteristics of the muttaqeen, one of the things that he says is وَسُكُونِ الرِّيحِ. They have this mild temperament like wind. They're calm. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to Nabi Musa, says, Musa, idhab ila Fir'aun. Go towards Fir'aun. فَإِنَّهُ طَغَى. Because he's become a person that has rebelled against me. He says, Ana rabbukumul a'la, I am your greatest Lord. I am the God of gods. Says Musa, he's transgressed the boundaries. Go towards him. Musa, he's oppressed my believers. Musa, he banished you from the city. Musa, he wants to kill you. Musa. He's done all of this. But Musa, when you go to him, speak to him nicely. To who? To Fir'aun. Saying, Musa, when you go to him, speak to him nicely. Why? Because Musa, he raised you. We're so quick to forget. We're so quick to forget that so many times someone does something good to us. Within a few, they say one thing to us, we forget every good that they've ever done, and we brand them. The person, then brand them our enemy. Says, no, if you want to, even if you're calling people towards the deen, use wisdom, good words. وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. And if you want to debate with them, argue with them, then have the best of akhlaq. Don't be so hot-headed, even within ourselves. Don't be so hot-headed. Come, learn, explain, discuss. Understand where culture differs from Islam. The biggest issue that we have right now is where culture has become Islam for us, rather than the other way around, where Islam is the deen that was sent by Allah. If culture fits within that, it is jaiz. If it does not, it falls outside of the boundaries. It has to be left. And if we don't, we will reach a situation where the narrations say, when the Imam of our time come, those that awaited him, those that said Al-Ajal, Al-Ajal all their lives, will be the first to turn against him and say, what is this new religion he has brought? This wasn't the religion of our forefathers. This wasn't the religion that we used to follow. This is a new religion. It's not that Imam Sahib al-Zaman is going to bring a new religion. It is that he's going to bring the true religion of Rasul al-Azam. He's going to bring the true religion. But because we've watered it down so much, we won't know. So the first level of freedom comes in the freedom of aqa'id. Allah says, La ikraha fid din. You don't have to be Muslim. You're not forced into knowing the aqa'id. When it comes to, once you're in the religion, yes, then there is force in the sense of, if you do not pray, there is punishment for it. There is something else for it. If you pray, you get a reward. If you don't pray, something else. But before that, before even entering, there's no force to enter the religion. The second level of freedom is the one at the level of society. Says you're free to do what you want within society, as long as it does not affect the freedom of other individuals, or it does not cause deviancy within society. This is why you see many a times the Islamic capital punishment is very difficult to administer. And one of the requirements for the capital punishment to be administered is that it must be done out in public. And the reason for it to be administered in an Islamic, I'm not saying here, saying in an ideal, perfect, theoretical Islamic society. And the reason why it's implemented, or the reason why it's acted upon, is because now this person has committed this action that can cause social deviancy. It can make others inclined towards this action. And so that is there in order to maintain the order of society. Qisas, retaliation in Islam. Sayyidah Zahra salamullah alayha, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. in her khutbah fadakiyah, she says, وَقِصَاص, Allah has ordained retaliation for you as a saving from bloodshed. If someone kills you, qisas is retaliation, an eye for an eye. The concept exists within Islam. That someone kills a loved one of you, then you have the right to kill one in order to stop that bloodshed. Because if injustice happens, I mean, these are concepts, again, we can discuss at a later point. But the fact that qisas is there, even something as obscure as that, or something that we may think is quite draconian, is still there in order to maintain the stability of society. So you're free to do what you want within your private life, as long as it doesn't affect the life of another. There was a person during the time of the Holy Prophet by the name of Thamarat ibn Jundab. This Thamara is an individual who, in order to understand who he is, before I go into the story, this is the person who, in the battle of Uhud, he's quite young and he comes to the Holy Prophet. He says, "Oh Prophet, let me go out and fight." And Rasulullah says to him, "No, for him not to go at that point." And so he turns around to the Holy Prophet and says, "Why? Why are you not letting me go?" And then the Holy Prophet at the same time lets another young man go. And then he comes to the Prophet again. He says, "You let him go, you didn't let me go." It's this type of person. In fact, this individual is that person who Ziyad, the father of Ibn Ziyad. Ziyad, when he was the governor of Basra and Kufa, when he would leave the governorship of Kufa to go and visit Basra, he would leave this Thamarat ibn Jundab as his representative. And vice versa, when he would go to Kufa, he would leave Thamara there in Basra. In fact, this Thamara is such an evil individual that they say upon one of his visits to Kufa, he left Thamara in Basra. When he returned, he found that Thamara had killed over 48 Hafiz of the Holy Quran. They said to him that, "Why is it that you killed them?" He said, "Yes, they were the Shia of Ali." And by the time of his death, he dies with a very horrible disease. By the time of his death, they say that he had the blood of 8,000 Shias on his hands. This individual. During the time of the Prophet, Thamara had a tree in the house of another person. Yeah, at that time when they would divide out land, especially when the Muhajirin came over to the Ansar in Medina, the land would be given, certain things, trees would be gifted. This individual had a tree in the garden of someone. And he would just walk in whenever he pleased into this person's garden to the hayat of his home. He would just walk in and say, "I'm coming to look at my tree." The person who owned the house went to Rasulullah, said, "Ya Rasulullah, I'm not saying that he doesn't come, but at least tell him to say Ya Allah, to at least knock on the door. I've got a daughter in the house, I've got a wife in the house. They may not be in hijab when he walks in. He doesn't ask for permission, he just says, he just opens the door and he walks in. Says, I'm here to look at my tree." So the Holy Prophet calls him and gives him 5 options. Says the first, we're talking about freedom within society. Says you're free to do what you want, but as long as the boundaries are maintained. In Islam, you're free to do what you want, but there are certain boundaries. 1, don't infringe the right of another. Says I give you five options. Says the first thing, says ask for permission before you go. Knock on the door, say Ya Allah and come out. So they know that you're coming, so they can go put on their hijab. Says I'm not going to ask for permission, it's my tree. Rasulullah says to him, "Okay, sell me the tree and I'll give you an alternative tree outside somewhere equally as fruitful as this tree." He says, "No, I don't want another tree, this is my tree." So the Holy Prophet says, okay, buy the house. Buy the house from this guy and then take your tree and all his garden and everything. He says, no, I don't want to buy the house. Fourth thing, Rasulullah says to him, okay, gift me the tree and I guarantee to gift you a tree within Jannah. He says, I don't want a tree in Jannah. This is my tree in the dunya. What am I going to do? 4 options he's given him. Sell it to me. Gift it to me. I'll give you something else in return in Jannah or in the dunya. Buy the house. No, I don't want to do any of it. Or then he says, if you don't want to do that, ask permission before you enter. No. Refuses. Rasulullah says, you refuse. Says, yes. He orders for people to be brought. He goes, okay, go dig up the tree and drop it outside his house. Infringing the rights of another person. We've given you the options. There's 4 options here. All reasonable. You refuse and you keep on infringing upon the rights of another human being. Says, go, dig it up. They hire 3 or 4 guys. They dig up the tree. You know, date palm roots are very deep. They go to the bottom, they dig out the tree. They take it and they drop it in front of Thamarat ibn Jundab. There you go. Another story. Someone comes to Rasulullah and says, Ya Rasulullah, my neighbor is annoying me. This is really annoying me. All the time he's got something to say. Problems with him all the time. Rasulullah says, be patient with him. It's fine. Some weeks pass again. He says, Ya Rasulullah, it's beyond my patience now. I've tried to be patient with him. He just will not change. So the Holy Prophet says to him, okay, do this. When it comes on the day of Jum'ah, take all of your belongings out of the house and sit in the middle of the street. And as people are going to the masjid, they're going to ask you, why it is that you're sitting in the street? And tell them it is because of my neighbor. So Jum'ah comes along, takes all his stuff, he puts it in the street, sits down. So, Fulan, why are you sitting in the streets? What happened to you? He says, because of this neighbor of mine. He's driven me crazy. He's forced me out the house. Because of your neighbor, you've been forced out onto the street. He says, yes. He says, Khuda, do la'an upon him. And they carry on towards the masjid. Another one says, may God increase his adhab in hell. And it carries on. By the end of the day, the neighbor himself says, look, I'm leaving the area. You keep the house. When you've infringed the right, you have freedom to do as you wish. But when it starts to infringe the rights of another human being, that is when there is the intervention. So at the second level, there was the society and the community. The third is political freedom. Everyone is free to have their views, to oppose, to stand against, to do whatever, you know, where they want to discuss or they disagree with the ruler. There's freedom in Islam to do so. In fact, Amir al-Mu'mineen is saying to Malik, the Malik al-Ashtar, don't place yourself on such a pedestal. Don't surround yourself with rich people so that those that do not have that same economic standing feel as if they have been deprived of your company, that they can't reach you because they're not rich enough. Says Malik, be careful of that. In fact, when Salman Farsi is sent to Madain by the second Khalifa and makes him the governor of Madain, Salman comes to Amir al-Mu'mineen, says, oh Imam, can I go to Madain? He's selected. Imam says, yes, go. Salman goes to Madain. And now Salman lives like Amir al-Mu'mineen does. And it's a well-documented letter. The second Khalifa writes to him, says, Salman, it has come to my knowledge that you are living like a pauper. That you sit there weaving baskets all day. You're causing me shame. Says, and you don't eat normal bread, you're eating barley. And that people are using you to carry the weights. They're using you like a bridge. You're carrying their weights for them. You're causing me embarrassment that I've placed you as the governor and you're acting like a normal person. Those of you that get the opportunity, go and read this letter of what Hazrat Salman replies. It's a masterclass in what the Shia of Amir al-Mu'mineen should have. Absolute masterclass. Says to him, as for this, says, I saw nothing different in the seerah of Rasulullah. Says, I saw the Holy Prophet do these things. Says, I saw that if it means that I must eat barley so that others can eat good, then it's fine with me. I rather eat the barley that is halal than to eat wheat that is haram. And he says, and you have complained that I use all of my wages from the government and I give them to the poor. Just tell me, where have I run contrary to Islam? Says this political freedom, you see how it is, this political freedom, Amir al-Mu'mineen is saying that don't place yourself on a pedestal. And here you have the companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen. That Salman is in Madain and he sees someone lifting, and Salman himself is very old. When he's in Madain, he's very old. He sees someone lifting and he goes up to him and says, look, let me help you. So the man gives him the weight to carry the bag or whatever it was. He has it on his shoulder and he walks as well. When they reach the place, someone turns around and says to him, what are you doing? Do you not know who you've made carry your weight? Says, no. Says, this is Salman, the governor of Madain. Salman says, so what? That level of tawazu', that level of humility, it needs to be present amongst those that hold political office, those that hold positions of leadership, that the people are not confused. Amir al-Mu'mineen is saying to Malik, says, Malik, don't hold yourself in such a way that the poor become despondent of your mercy and the rich start to think that they can get favors from you. In fact, he writes to his governor in Basra, Uthman ibn Maz'un, Uthman ibn Hanif. He says to him, Ibn Hanif, it has come to my knowledge that you went to the gathering of the rich of your city, where they presented you with large plates and many dishes within it. And you took part in it and you enjoyed that company. Ibn Hanif, know that your Imam is the one that is happy with just 2 pieces of bread a day and 2 pieces of cloth that are upon his body. Ibn Hanif, know that Ali knows that you cannot live like him. But at least aid me with your simple living and your abstinence. Now we as the Shia of Amir al-Mu'mineen, we want to hold big opulent gatherings. Want to hold big opulent galas, dinners. You know, we want to make it like the Oscars, where now there's a ticket for entry and there's there's a platinum package for $300 or something. And there you get to sit with the celebrities. I don't know what's wrong with us as well as speakers. But we're starting to love this celebrity status as well. Then now, well, yes, of course, if they want to sit at the table with me, then. Beware, this is contrary to the teachings of Ahl al-Bayt. Somewhere along the line we got lost. And we lost that freedom and became enslaved to the dunya. Political freedom, you're free to do as you please. Someone takes Amir al-Mu'mineen to court, for God's sake. Ali is the governor. And the man is saying, you took my camel. And he takes Amir al-Mu'mineen to court. And not the governor, Amir al-Mu'mineen is the Khalifa. Takes the Khalifa to court. This is that political freedom that Islam allows. Economic freedom says, do your wajibat, pay your khums, pay your zakat. Don't spend your money on haram, and you're free to do what you want. Yeah? Once you've done your charitable work, once you've done your wajibat, and you're not doing anything haram, you're free to do what you want. Amir al-Mu'mineen himself says, Zuhd, asceticism, is not that you do not own anything. Zuhd, asceticism, is not that you do not own anything. Rather, it is that nothing owns you. There's a difference. I can have nice things. I can own a nice car, have a nice house, have a nice gadget. But if tomorrow I drop my iPad and I scratch the screen, or I break the screen, I don't sit there and mourn, look at that, just ruined my screen. Or my new car, someone scratches it and I come out and I mourn every day. Or I have a new phone and I drop it in a puddle and now I'm back down to my old Android phone that I had. I don't sit there mourning over the loss of the phone that I had. Allah gave it, Allah took it back. It's freedom. Islam has rules for the seller. Don't inflate your prices. Islam has rules for the buyer, for the person paying. If the workman is working for you, give him his money before even his sweat dries. When you're trading with someone, don't try and lower his price so much that it will cause him issues. In fact, says, and if someone owes you money, this point's really interesting. Say one of the companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen, he was very rich, had lots, but he fell out of fell out of the form or out of the love of the rulers. I believe it was Muawiyah at the time. Says that something happened and Muawiyah imprisoned him and seized all his assets. Now when he came out, he has nothing, has no money, nothing to survive with. Those thousands of dirhams that he had, all of them being seized, he has nothing. Another fellow mu'min owed him 10,000 dirham. They say that that person went home that night, he gathered his family, he said, get ready, we're going to move out. I'm selling the house because I owe someone money. He goes, he gets a in principle agreement, as it were, that someone will buy his house for 10,000. He takes the money, he comes to this companion of Amir al-Mu'mineen. He says, I owed you 10,000 dirham, there you are, I hear that you're in need now, there you are. He says, where did you get the money from? He says, let it be. He says, no, where did you get the money from? He says, I sold my house. He says, take the money back. Have you not heard the hadith of the A'imma that says that you should not push a person to repay his loan at the loss of his house? He says, never take the house of a person as collateral to repay your loan. See how broken our society is. The collateral that we have is the homes that we own. But in the true Islamic system of economics, one's house can never be taken from them as collateral to pay off a loan. Why? Because within the house is that person's izzah, that person's honor. In England we have a saying that says, an Englishman's home is his castle. And that's where it derives from that honor. No matter how small or how large the house is, a person has that inherent attachment and an honor related to that. So that's the economic freedom. Don't overcharge. Don't underpay. In fact, many times Amir al-Mu'mineen would walk out into the marketplace during his rule and look at the prices of everything within the marketplace and say, why is it that you've got the price so high? Says everyone else is doing it. Says, but still. Or at times, when the price would go too high in the marketplace and the Holy Prophet would see, why is it that the price says there's not enough supply? He would go into his own personal supplies and flood the marketplace with product in order to bring the price down, in order to make it reasonable for people to live. So there is economic freedom. Do what you want with your money, as long as you fulfill your wajibat and you don't do anything haram. And then the final thing, freedom of speech. Is there freedom of speech in Islam? Yes, but there's boundaries. What are those boundaries? Don't belittle someone. Don't make bad nicknames up about someone. Don't do ghiba about someone. It says don't belittle them, lower their status. Control your tongue. If you've heard something about them, you don't have to go and tell everyone. You know? If you're unsure, even if you're 100% sure, that's what ghiba is. Sometimes people say, no, it's not ghiba, it's true. That's what ghiba is. If it's true, something, you've seen someone do something bad, seen someone do something haram, you've witnessed it with your own eyes. Now you go and tell someone else that did not witness it. That's a ghiba. Otherwise it'd be tuhmat. Otherwise it's slander. And there are 9 groups of people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the Holy Prophet in the Holy Quran, in Surah Al-Qalam, 9 groups. He says, don't listen to what they have to say. So no matter what, these 9 groups of people, if they come to you, don't listen to their words. Who are they, Ya Rasulullah? Says the first group is the person that is the slanderer and tells tales. The person that you know, this is the go-to person for all things ghiba. All rumors, this is the person to go to. They know everything about everyone's personal life, and they will reveal everything to you. And sometimes they try and act, we have this issue. Sometimes try and act, no, I can't, it's really bad. And then you just have to, just a little bit of buttering them up, and then all of a sudden everything's out. So it's the first group of people that you should not listen to is that individual who is constantly slandering and telling you tales about people. He's always got the gossip, always got the rumors. So don't listen to them. The second group is that person who is always taking oaths. Always taking oaths. Person who's always saying, qasam, qasam. Quran ki qasam. Unfortunately, now that we've got this issue now, like we have many people that try and justify their point. It's mimbar ki qasam. Okay, now then you know the person's lying. What's about to come. Unfortunately, that's what's happened in our zakir, in our poetry and things. That we now try and justify it, and what I'm about to say is so outlandish. But hey, I'm going to take an oath for it. And you better believe it. So he says, don't listen to that group of people, the one that's always taking an oath. Freedom of speech, yes. But not at the expense of belittling someone, not at the expense of ghiba, not at the expense of swearing at anyone. In the battle of Siffin, Amr ibn Hamiq swears at Muawiyah. Amir al-Mu'mineen calls him back. Says, it's come to my knowledge that you swore at my enemy. Imagine. Says, it's come to my knowledge that you swore at the enemy of Ali, none less than Muawiyah himself. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, La takunu sabbabin. Says, Ali does not like it that you should be from amongst the people that swear. Says, don't do sab. Ali does not like it when a person swears. says, don't be amongst the people that swear. You see how the true Shah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, how they defend the wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Look at Ayatollah Amini and his book Al-Ghadir, how he defends the wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and not one place is there a sarcastic comment. Not one place is there a dig at someone else. Not one place is there cursing or swearing at anyone else from another field. It's purely academic. And yet he defends the wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, to which there is no answer. One has to be aware of what we say with our tongues, what we do. So these 3 or 4 things about freedom. Inshallah, from tomorrow we'll begin to look specifically at the characteristics of those that are free. And so that we can analyze our own lives and say, am I from amongst the people that are hur? Because Karbala was filled with individuals that were free. Those that were by the side of Abi Abdullah, free. But yet on the other side, men that were enslaved, that were willing to commit such atrocities that one cannot even bear to think. Where the blood of the 6-month-old child has become halal. A place where, as he falls to the ground, they say Abi Abdullah called out towards them. As they turn to attack his tent, taking the support of a broken spear, he lifts himself from the ground. He says, if you have no religion and you do not fear the day of judgment, kunu ahraran fi dunyakum, at least be free men. And they turn away from the tents of Abi Abdullah. But then what they do is that they turn towards Abu Abdullah. One comes and attacks him from the side, another from the front. The narrations say arrows were fired into his forehead, arrows stabbed through his neck, others stabbed him in his side, others would kick him, lay him upon the ground, iron bars beating Abi Abdullah as he lay upon the ground, such that the state of Abu Abdullah on the day of Ashura, that when Zainab comes towards her brother, my father be sacrificed for the one that was killed thirsty, where Zainab now is looking for a place to kiss. There is nowhere for Zainab to kiss. The whole body of Abi Abdullah is covered in arrows, is covered in gashes. They say Zainab bent down and kissed those veins of Abi Abdullah that were cut. And then when Imam al-Sajjad comes to bury his father on the 13th of Muharram, they say Imam al-Sajjad approached the body of Abu Abdullah. He dug out a grave. He saw Bani Asad, that they were standing around. He says to them, why do you stand around? They say, Imam, we're unable to identify the bodies. All the heads have been removed. Imam al-Sajjad says, Sajjad will tell you whose body is whose. That body you see that has been trampled by the hooves of the horses, that is the body of Qasim. You see that body, فَقَطَّعُوهُ إِرْبًا إِرْبًا. You see that body that is mutilated beyond recognition. That is the body of my brother Ali Akbar. And you see that other mutilated body where the arms have been cut and the body is not movable from that place. That is the body of my uncle Al-Abbas. And this body here that you see, again trampled, covered with stones, this is the body of my father Abi Abdullah. How difficult was it for Sajjad that the start of his imamate started with a question. What was that question that Sajjad was asked? Every imam that became an imam, nowhere do you find it in history that they said this was the first question that was asked to the Imam. When Imam al-Hassan became Imam, there is nowhere in history that says that this is the first question Imam al-Hassan was asked. Imam al-Hussein becomes Imam, there is no mention of it. But Sajjad is that Madhloom Imam. The moment that he becomes an Imam, his father's head severed from his body, and the questioner comes to ask the first question. None other than Lady Zainab. She stands in front of him. Sajjad, should we burn alive or should we go outside? The first question Zainab asked. Do you know what the second question is that Zainab asked? They said, as the women ran from tent to tent and they came outside, they say they heard sound like the shattering of glass upon the plains of Karbala. Sayyidah Zainab turns to Imam al-Sajjad. She says, Sajjad, what was the sound? What was that sound that sounded like shattering glass? Imam al-Sajjad says, Awan, Zainab, don't look. They've started running horses over the body of my father, Abi Abdullah. That sound that you heard was the sound of his ribs breaking under the hooves of the horses. Sajjad comes now to bury his father. Imam al-Sajjad turns towards Bani Asad. He says, Bani Asad, bring for me a white cloth. They bring a white cloth for Imam al-Sajjad. He lays out the cloth. So why is it Sajjad asked for the cloth? He says it is to place my father's body in it. But why can't the Imam lift up the body of his father and place it in the grave? Why does he need the cloth? They say because as Sayyidah Zainab said at the body of her brother when she addressed Rasulullah, Ya Jadda salla alayka malaikatu as-sama wa hadha Husaynuka murammalun bid-dima muqatta'ul a'dha. His body was cut to pieces. Now, after the running of the horses, if Sajjad wanted to lift his father's body, if he lifted from one side, the other side would fall away. He asked for the white cloth so that he could place the pieces of the body of Abi Abdullah and lower them within the grave. Then they say after Sajjad had lowered his father in the grave, they say Sajjad began looking and scanning the earth of Karbala. Bani Asad say, Imam, what are you looking for? Imam al-Sajjad walks out and he finds something and he holds it in his hand and he brings it back. And he enters into the grave and he places it and comes out. Bani Asad say, Imam, what was that? He says, that was the finger of my father, Abi Abdullah, as he lay upon the plains of Karbala and they looted everything from his body. One man came towards the body of my father, found nothing to loot. Instead, he saw the ring on the finger of my father. He tried removing the ring would not come off. So instead, he cut off the finger of Abi Abdullah. Then they say Sajjad again began looking upon the plains of Karbala. Say, Imam, what are you looking for? He says that when I lowered my father inside the grave, a voice came from my father and said, Sajjad, my son Ali Asghar, bring him, lay him on my chest. Ali Asghar's body lies upon the plains of Karbala. You know, Imam al-Sajjad goes, he picks up the body of that 6-month-old child beheaded. He takes the child, he places it upon the chest of Abi Abdullah. وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيُّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the sake of these tears, Ya Allah, forgive our sins. Ya Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Ya Allah, forgive the sins of our parents. Ya Allah, those that are ill for the sake of these tears, those that are suffering from mental health issues, physical ailments, Ya Allah, for the sake of these tears, give them shifa'ah. Ya Allah, those that are suffering from economic difficulty and problems within their lives, Ya Allah, for the sake of Abi Abdullah, give them relief from those problems. Ya Allah, those that are in debt, clear their debts. Those who are in education, make them successful. Ya Allah, keep safe the Zaireen of Imam al-Hussein around the world. Ya Allah, keep safe the Azadari of Sayyid al-Shuhada. Ya Allah, destroy the enemies of Azadari, both internal and external. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and allow us to be amongst his true muntadhirin, his true waiters. At the end, there is a request for the recitation of Surah Fatiha for the following marhumin: Khadim Hussain, Shireen Begum, Anila Batul Rizvi, Shafqat Hussain, Zahida Malik, Ruqayya Begum, Afsar Ali Rizvi, and all the mu'mineen and mu'minat, the marhumin and marhumat of your families, and those that have no one to recite for them. Honor their souls with the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha, but before that, the loudest of your salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Hussein, Hussein.
Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar, this is the call of Ali Akbar for as-salat. Ali Akbar for Ali as-salat. Ali Akbar for as-salat. Ali Akbar for as-salat. You be the witness, he has the surat. You be the witness, he has the surat. He has the sirat of Mustafa. Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. Forgive me, Mawla, I am the one who severed your access to Al-Qamar. Severed your access to Al-Qamar. Hurriyahi, you are the free one. Hurriyahi, you are the free one. In both dunya and akhirah. Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. Oh, Waka, let me go fetch some water for thirsty children from Al-Furat. For thirsty children from Al-Furat. Oh, will you come back, Ya Qamar-e Hashim? Oh, will you come back, Ya Qamar-e Hashim? Or will this be to your al-wida? Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. Ya Ammu, tell me, will I be counted among the martyrs of Karbala? Among the martyrs of Karbala. Oh, nephew Qasim, you are a hero. Oh, nephew Qasim, you are a hero. You are the warith of Mujtaba. Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. Ya Ummi, I hear my father calling. Hal min Nasir yansurna. Hal min Nasir yansurna. I may be asghar, my heart is akbar. I may be asghar, my heart is akbar. I am the grandson of Murtaza. Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. This is the manzil of Mutmainna. This is the moment of Inna Lillah. This is the moment of Inna Lillah. Lower me into Nashib Zera. Lower me into Nashib Zera. To Ummi Zera, O Zuljana. Hussein, Husseina, Hussein, Husseina, Hussein, Husseina. Ya Hussein, oh Father Reina, oh Father Reina. This is your daughter, this is Sakina. This is your daughter, this is Sakina. My heart is broken, my wounds are open. My heart is broken, my wounds are open. Oh Ammu Abbas Bawafa. Hussein, Husseina, Hussein, Husseina, Hussein, Husseina. Ya Hussein, you are the martyr we venerate. Your tragedy we commemorate. Your tragedy we commemorate. We are the Shia, we are your Ummah. We are the Shia, we are your Ummah. We are the students of Karbala. Hussein, Husseina, Hussein, Husseina, Hussein, Husseina. Ya Hussein.
Hussein, 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 Hussein. Allahumma salli ala Jafar.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وأجل فرجهم. السلام عليك يا رسول